Hello and welcome to the Walk and Love podcast. I'm TJ.
And I'm Brooke.
And today we're going to talk about the 200th episode. The Walk and Love podcast is a weekly conversation about rhythms, faith, parenting, emotions. It's a place where we laugh and sometimes cry as we try to find language to live a full life.
And if you like your listening to line up with your living, you're in the right place.
I love that.
I love that.
I love that for us. I love that for you. I love that for everyone listening.
I love that for you. I love that for you. You get it's like Oprah, but in reverse. It didn't work very well.
I had a different reference in there, and there's a swear word. So
yeah. You're cool.
I'm out. So okay, I'll reference that. I'll get into that story. So
okay, sure.
There's a movie called Half Baked, starring Dave Chappelle and
someone.
I can't remember the other guy. He's like a real squirrely looking guy.
Okay.
I secretly, I don't know how I did this.
Okay.
I don't know how I got away with this. I don't know how.
28% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay.
Just so you know.
When did it come out?
I'm
going to guess like
1998.
Okay.
Comedy crime. Ooh, rated R.
Yeah. Okay. Now search, when did Amazon start selling online?
Ooh, okay.
Okay, because
I'm trying to figure out the other person's name real quick.
I believe, and maybe this is like sort of like what's that thing when it's like when you like make something up in your mind and then you believe it, like something history.
Conspiracy theory.
No. Those are all real. And becoming more real by the day. No, I'm just kidding. Revisionist history.
There you go.
I think this might be a little bit of revisionist history, but I don't think so. But maybe.
Also, it's totally accurate.
So I believe.
Guillermo Diaz.
I believe.
That's the other person.
Okay.
No,
I
not who you thought it
believe
was.
that I secretly ordered the VHS of this movie.
VHS?
Yes, on Amazon. I don't know if my mom again, I am so unaware of how this actually worked, if it was the early 2000s, but I remember because it was like an inappropriate movie.
Yeah.
Yes, it's about smoking weed and like not something that young TJ should be watching or being influenced by. But I remember secretly ordering it on Amazon. I don't know if my parents know this, so they're finding out right now. I'm confessing my sins. And when I did, it was like the mail. Like you just had to check the mail.
Yeah.
So I checked every single day.
Oh, because you were nervous.
Because I was so nervous that someone was going to find it. And so that's where I'm like, how did I order it without like a credit card or any? There's some mystery in that realm of it. But yeah, I ordered it on.
I mean, in 1998, Amazon added music and DVD videos to the mix. In 1999, they went into like toys, home improvement items, software, blah, blah.
Okay, so yeah.
So it really could have been Amazon.
Yeah, maybe it was a DVD, but I feel like it was a VHS.
It's even better.
Yeah.
Ripping into that bubble mailer.
And so, yeah, I remember the day, like checking every day, literally from the moment I ordered.
Yeah.
Like I went out, I'm confident that I probably went out to check the mailbox. What if they get when it's there? What if somehow
what are you gonna do?
They got it. I don't know how the internet works. I'm just a young lad with a giant head trying to watch a movie about smoking
and a credit
weed.
card?
Again, I don't know. I don't know. So, yeah.
Wow.
But in that movie, he goes, "You're cool."
Very funny,
I'm out.
Inappropriate, but funny reference that we say a lot.
So yeah. Wow, I didn't expect that deep cut to come to the surface so early.
Wow.
On episode 200.
Whoa.
Wow, talk about burying the lead.
Wow. You
Episode
really did save it.
200 of the Walk and Love podcast.
That is insane.
That is insane. How many hours is that? Probably like 200.
Yeah, that was a pretty quick answer. Although way more, because there's a good amount of time we go over that. But then there's sometimes we might go under. So then does it actually even out?
So it was about 200 hours probably.
That's a lot of time.
It's a lot of time. Did you ever think I think maybe that will
Did I ever think we'd get there?
get into the conversation.
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, we might talk about that with the conversation. But before we do all that, Brooke, how was your week?
I have to burp. Hold on.
Okay.
My week was
200
good.
episodes in, we're still burping on the
We're still
mic.
burping on episodes.
Yeah.
It's that I need to not drink a bunch of liquid right before I start talking. or really do anything before I start talking. But I just drank a bunch of water. Here's the thing. I played Bunko the other night at a friend's house down the street.
And you lost. Oh, is that too
Thanks
soon?
for just
Sorry, is that too soon?
throwing that out there.
I feel like at episode 200, we can just be honest.
It's trash. I would wish I could have because the prizes were bomb. But I accidentally left my Stanley Cup there. This was on Tuesday night.
Yep.
Today is Thursday afternoon for me in my life in real time. Don't know what ad you're hearing, so I don't know where you are.
Or if you're hearing all the same ads the whole way through.
Sorry about
figure
that.
Out.
But I left my Stanley Cup at her house.
Okay.
Tuesday night. Woke up to a text Wednesday morning. Hey, whose cup is this? I said, it me. I'll come over and get it. Didn't think much of it. And then it was yesterday at 4:00 as I was driving.
At what point during this did you enter lizard mode?
Yeah. So I was driving to get the girls at like 4:00 yesterday from school, to which then I realized, wow, I haven't drank any water today. Not a single sip.
Lizard mode activated.
Because my cup is not here. No wonder my head hurts.
It works.
And I feel like a little bit angry inside.
Yeah.
I also missed my turn twice and went a different way. And it was just a whole thing.
It was.
Dee's using the car. She couldn't reach her books. She wanted her Crocs on. Then she wanted her Crocs off. Then her window down. Then her window up. It was a whole vibe while I was missing my turn and twice. And so I was a little ragey inside.
Just a little bit, or?
It's one of those moments where
lizard
you think,
rage, or?
Who turned on the seat heaters? No one. It's me. It's my body. That's how hot I am because I'm so angry right now. What is going on?
Oh, man.
But anyway,
okay. Before you
my week was good.
Before you get into it, episode 200.
Okay.
That's wild. Maybe we should give away a $200 gift card or something.
I love that.
So let's do that.
How are we doing that? In the Facebook group?
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Force people to get in there.
Yeah.
Just shove them in there. Force them.
Yeah. Let's give it away on the Facebook group. We'll post something.
Yes.
We'll post
you
something.
Can enter on that post.
Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, it's not a huge group, so your odds are pretty good.
Or you go get in.
And then your odds
are still great.
they get less every person that joins, but that's how math works. Is there any sort of thing about the podcast in the last 200 episodes that you, I don't know, that like when you think of the podcast, like what's the first sort of maybe of your first thought or something like within the last 200 episodes that, I mean, I could go down the route of like something you never imagined. It's like, well, when we started, we were in your dad's studio and now we record in Hawaii. Like, we can go that way and just be like, oh, that's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. I think a few things for the podcast specifically. I think about how much we've laughed. And I just feel like, and again, people have podcasts about all sorts of things. Yeah. I'm not one to listen to a ton of podcasts. So maybe the average person's like, oh no, most podcasts are funny. Like that's who I am. That's what I listen to. But I don't feel like most podcasts are funny, in my opinion, at least. That if I'm listening to something like that, I'm absorbing like some sort of more like knowledge. It's like an author or it's a sermon or
no knowledge here.
That's why I laughed, because I realized I was putting us
just
on the
a couple of dum-dums
of no knowledge.
A couple of dum-dums trying to make it through life. What's the Walk and Love podcast about? Oh,
it's got a new VHS is on Amazon.
It's got a new tagline, the Walk and Love podcast. Two dum-dums just laughing their way through life.
Dum-dum, isn't that the name of the lollipop? Those are delicious.
Delicious, yeah.
Anyway, I just didn't.
A lot of value in a dum-dum.
Like we laugh a lot.
Yeah.
And I also feel like, I hope from the messages and texts I receive, that we bring laughter to other people's lives, which is really fun.
Yeah.
Again, if someone was like, someday you're going to have a podcast, my brain would have just naturally defaulted in the direction of, okay, we must be like really talking about something or teaching about something, which we do, but do. But we also laugh. So that's crazy.
Yeah.
It feels wild to be at 200, especially when I think about my voice.
Yeah, we can go a couple of dum-dums making there with
how many minutes in? My
9:41.
9 minutes
9:41.
43. 44. 45.
The rest of the podcast.
Us counting.
Counting down. Episode 200. 9:51.
I don't know. I just way back when we started, my voice wasn't great, but I wasn't thinking much of it at the time. Like it was okay enough that we started.
Right.
And then it got worse for that next pregnancy. Or no, Sunny was already born. So I was just on a stretch for a while there. There we go. That makes more sense. And then it got, I don't know. I just like, there's so much there that I'm not even forming complete thoughts, but
yeah. Like when people are like, which episode is this from? It's like hard for us to recommend them. Like, I know you feel that and I feel that too.
Yeah.
Just because I'm just like, oh, she sounds so much better now. I don't even want to listen.
I think what I'm trying to say is that the podcast has felt literally from a physical speaking perspective, so much easier in the last year, a little bit more than a year, that it sort of feels like there was no podcast before that. It sort of feels like there was not life before that in some ways. But then it also just feels like, well, I can keep going.
Yeah.
And before, when it was so difficult to talk, I think it was always in the back of my head that like, I don't know if we're going to do this a lot longer. Because if there's anything that's going to be cut, it's going to be the thing that requires me to talk.
Right.
You know? And so, yeah. And I don't know when the day will come, if and when the day will come when we're like, that's it for the Walk in Love podcast. You better believe we'll weep through that one.
Yeah. A little bit.
But just to be like, oh my word, like we did it. We're at 200.
Yeah. That feels wild. It feels
crazy.
wild to me because I think when we start something like this, or when you start anything and you feel like, oh, this is going to look a certain way. This is going to be a certain way. This is going to have a certain flavor. And like when we started the podcast, we had just gone to this like business group that we were part of that like the Bethkeys were in and the Roll-Offs were in and like some of those people who all had podcasts and they're like, oh, it's the best, like it's the best return on investment that we have. And we're like, okay, like that sounds like something that's really great. Like I want a good return on my investment of time and energy. And I feel like that actually kind of short sells what it is. Because what I feel like is an actual a better representation or a better way to talk about it from like the creator standpoint is like, yeah, it's a great return on the investment. Like your podcast people, you butt clenchers are the best. Like you're the best. You buy shirts, you buy courses, you come to Maui, like it's incredible and it's amazing. And from a business standpoint, those are the types of customers you want. Like I see all those things, but those like that's like a surface level thing. When what I feel like what it's really done is like allowed us to understand that like we have a community. We have like an actual community of people that honestly are similar to us, just trying to figure out life, trying to find language to have better communication, trying to find language to help their relationships and with their spouses and their kids, or, you know, like in the case of like Lindsay and Noah, like she started listening, she was single. Yeah. And she's like, I brought so much of that into the podcast, you know, and then we got to meet them and hang out with them. And so like, there's elements of that like that part of things I never imagined.
Oh, correct.
Never thought that it would be like, and obviously I wanted
never thought
people to listen, but I didn't think I
never thought I would meet people in real life outside of the podcast. And that'd be the first thing they say to me.
Yeah.
That like that's the starting point of conversation versus like, hey, we used to go to church together, or you know, hey, I love your shirts.
I think what's really cool is like when you do create things on the internet nowadays, you think like all of your metrics are in numbers, you know, followers, likes, engagement, watch time, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I feel like with a podcast specifically, like you're kind of pulled out of that. Like, yes, you want subscribers and you want people to download and all that stuff. Like all that stuff still matters, but it's such a unique style of content that you create because like it's not for everybody. Correct. Like it's so long, or, you know, like like the topics might be for everybody. And so the fact that people come over and spend time with us is overwhelming to me in terms of just like that, like they're real people trying to kind of figure it out like we are. And this helps them. And that like, I never expected that. Like for me, it was always like, oh, well, we'll like have like, I don't know, like what my expectations were, but I don't.
But they were like kind of cloudy or hazy. They just weren't I was like, oh no, can't hurt. Like kind
Yeah.
of just like that realm of let's start and try, which is not a bad place to start
No.
if it gets you to start
Yeah.
something.
But like that, it's so rich and
see what
deep
it
and
is now.
meaningful.
Yeah.
To me personally, like,
Yeah.
you know, we have, we were just talking about this the other night that like we have a long, mostly uninterrupted conversation every week that we do this.
Me and you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me and you. And so without that, I don't know if our relationship would be as rich
100%.
and
Yeah.
as healthy as it is. And I don't think like, and what happens is like actually earlier this week, I was in a mood and I was struggling and like we pushed through that conversation to get to a nice, not solution, but like we got to a good place where
We came out the other side
Yes.
of that forest or
Yeah,
wherever we
yeah.
were for that conversation. And we saw a clearing and we were like, oh my word, this is the
this
clearing
will-
we've
this
been
will-
looking
yeah.
for.
And I don't know if those conversations would be as easy or like, I don't know if we would get there without the podcast. And
Yeah.
then that's what I hear from other people, which
Right,
is really so crazy. That like, you know, you help us communicate and that's the goal here. Like that's what we want to do. And so if you've been here for all 200 episodes, thank you for that. But I also like Brooke feel like we're just getting started. I feel like,
I do kind of feel that in some ways.
because I feel like, you know, I don't know if I would listen to the advice in the first 100 episodes from us. I haven't gone back to listen, but
Yeah.
I don't really mean that. But like, I feel like, you know, with 3 kids, with like just more moving parts in life is becoming more complicated and more like there's just more going on. Not bad more, but like it just requires more communication. And so like, you know, it's like when you look back and you only had 1 kid, you're like, man,
That's so easy. We
that
could have
was
done
so
anything.
easy. Yeah.
We could have gone anywhere.
And that's where I feel like the podcast is just getting started. Like as we, you know, as our kids age up,
Yeah.
as we enter a new era of parenthood
Yeah.
and marriage, and like we're, you know, approaching 15 years, like there's just new elements
Right.
that we're going to be talking about. And so I feel that, that it just sort of feels like we're just getting started, which I think is really cool.
Yeah. I don't know who I was talking to. Somebody asked me the other day, like, isn't it, and they didn't mean anything by it. They were actually asking like, I think they phrased it, isn't it weird that strangers come stay at your house or something? I think they were talking about moms on Maui or whatever. And I was like, well, I mean, yeah, sure. You could think about it that way. Like
Yeah.
in one sense, yes, totally weird. In another sense, and this is what I was explaining, I said so many of the people who come, whether to stay like as a couple,
Yep.
like in the guest room or come and just are part of Moms on Maui, so many of them are podcast listeners.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, if they have listened to that for any amount of time,
Yeah. Even like 20 episodes.
I feel like there's this common thread
Yeah.
between us in the way we are doing life or hope to do
Yeah.
life or any of that. And so having that as like this foundation feels very different
Yeah.
than just like, oh, I follow you on Instagram.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
like it's just a very different feeling.
I feel like it's similar to why we find the Maui community so rich. It's like people ask questions like, well, what are you guys doing in your rhythm right now? Like,
Yeah.
it's not a question you get in a lot of places.
Right.
But when we talk to podcasts, like I specifically am having memories of Lindsay and Noah for whatever reason. I think because they came, when they arrived, I was cleaning all of our fruit and like putting
Yeah.
it in glass jars.
Yeah.
And they just stayed the whole time I was doing that. I think you were putting the kids to bed and they were just like,
Yes. They were just like hanging out in the kitchen while you were like washing strawberries
Yes.
and doing something for like a
Yeah.
lot, like an hour.
and I just remember like the conversation was about Sabbath and learning. And like, I was just like, that was such a cool thing. And instead of just being like, hey, what do what's new? Like it was,
Yeah.
it felt so much deeper and richer right away.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah.
So yeah, long way to the well on the 200th episode, but that is crazy.
is
And I actually kind of forgot about it. I remember a comment of like, you guys going to do anything special? I was like,
Yes.
yeah, we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, we're going to say, hey, 200 episodes. We're going to, okay, so here's a question.
Yeah.
If you had to, but also let's pretend your body has the capacity to,
Okay.
you're going to be okay.
All right.
You had to eat 200 of something to celebrate this 200th episode.
Ooh.
Any thoughts?
Like, well,
That's what I'm saying.
I could easily eat 200 pieces of sour candy, sour punch bites. I could.
You could do that now in today's body.
Today, right now. I did a cold plunge earlier. I'm ready. I actually feel like I'm ready. So is that what we're doing tonight?
Yeah.
So yeah.
My choice would be 200 Rice Krispie treats. My body would shut down and the ulcer in my stomach would get even bigger than it is now. So I can't, but that's what I'm saying. It's like I've been granted the power
I
to
really
be fine.
like the process of eating chicken wings. It's
Right.
very
So
satisfying.
that's what I'm saying. It's disgusting to think
yeah.
about you actually doing that.
Yeah.
But in this totally made up scenario,
That's good.
you're capable.
I would do that.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what mine would be if it wasn't like a sweet treat.
My
sweet
savory,
and savory.
savory would be chicken wings. I don't know. Maybe sweet would be like 200 scoops of ice cream, real ice cream.
Are you also no longer lactose intolerant?
Yeah, like as my body can fight it off. Then
100%.
I pick that. Yeah.
The power of 200 episodes is going to punch that right out of your body.
Without that power, I think it might literally kill me. I think I'd have a co-ulcer in my stomach like you.
Do you think that's ever happened? Like married people have had like sympathy ulcers? I don't actually have a stomach ulcer. I'm kidding.
Yeah, and I actually don't want to Google that because never will
my
I
sweet
ever
treat would
Google
be
the
Rice
word ulcer.
Krispies. Okay, this is odd. My savory treat that popped up is a warm cinnamon and sugar Annie Ann's pretzel. Okay, that's basically sweet. That doesn't count. Okay, so take the cinnamon and sugar off.
That's basically a piece of cake.
It's basically a Rice Krispie treat. No.
Yeah, just remove the pretzel and maybe
maybe make it a little crunchier.
Snap,
like maybe
crackle, and
sub it for
pop.
like a rice flour.
Yeah.
No, I think I would eat, this is odd, but I do love like a warm soft pretzel. And now that I'm gluten-free, I never eat them.
So 200.
So in this scenario, you're no longer lactose intolerant to ice cream
You're
items.
no longer gluten-free.
I'm no longer gluten-free.
So you wouldn't go like 200 pieces of pizza?
I mean, that does
200
sound
pieces
really good.
of plain white bread
And
and
just
with enriched dough,
loaves of bread.
enriched flour.
Ew. Yuck. No.
Okay, here's a question for you. Speaking of Rice Krispie treats,
Okay.
tell me if I lied to my kids.
Okay.
You made a batch of Rice Krispie treats for
Yes.
Sabbath.
A couple days ago?
No, it's for Sabbath. Last Sabbath.
Okay, okay, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So you made a batch. We ate them on Friday night as we watched Wonka.
Yeah.
Great movie.
Great movie.
And then we ate some on Saturday. And then there were a few that trickled into the week.
Yes.
So one day I'm at the kitchen counter and I unwrap the little bag.
Yep.
And I shove one in my mouth.
Uh-oh.
Right then and there, a kid walks in.
Yep.
Dad, what are you eating? Mm-hmm. I said, a rice cake.
Oh.
Am I a liar? Or is it?
Yeah, I think so.
What? No.
I think you are.
No.
If I said, hey guys, I'm going to bring rice cakes to the party and showed up with Rice Krispie treats.
People would be pleasantly surprised.
They would be, but they would also think Brooke's a liar. Those are not rice cakes. A rice cake is like that round Quaker thing.
What's it made out of?
Puffed rice.
What's a Rice
No
Krispie?
marshmallow.
Okay, but that's semantics. I don't say I'm eating a rice.
You could have said a rice treat.
Yeah, I didn't say treat, so I'm a liar. All right, I'm gonna have to ask for some forgiveness.
I think so. I don't think they're thinking about it, but technically, but see, here's the thing. I might have done the same thing.
It's just like
Yeah, I might have been like,
rice cake.
I don't know. I might have told him. It would have depended on their mood as they'd walked in. Circling way back, you asked me how my week was.
Yes.
My week was good. I feel like, okay, so last week we talked about doggy paddling, right?
Yes.
I felt like since that episode and throughout this last week of work and
We got a little
core
bit of
school
a
rhythm and so core school is what I say when we're like here at the house doing math, reading,
Yep.
and writing.
Yep.
And then when they go to their co-op, that's like the extra stuff, the science and the art and the this and that. And I feel like this week with the work stuff and the school stuff, which all ties into the life stuff, I felt like we were swimming a little faster.
Yeah, for sure.
Or we weren't so out of breath.
Yep.
One of the days y'all finished core school pretty quickly and
Yeah.
Junie felt it. Like I could see that she
was
felt
just
it.
like,
And I came
man.
into the kitchen, I pointed at her and I was like, did
Remember
you
this?
remember this moment?
I mean, a rice cake.
You're in the pantry.
Oh, I have 1,000% eaten candy in the pantry by myself in total darkness.
Yes, I believe that. I've only done it. I actually haven't done it that much, but I think that's because a lot of my treats don't live in the pantry.
Okay.
Your style of treat
Yes.
lives there more.
Like that bag of licorice that we got. I'm not a big licorice guy.
Ugh, no.
But there was this bag called, it was like soft licorice, but it was like an
it an
Australian brand
Yeah.
at Costco. It was on sale. I was like, oh, I'll try this. Like,
Yeah.
and it was so good.
Yeah.
So
The girls all ate it. It was like
Yeah.
a strawberry, a mango, and an apple. So it's
Yeah.
not like your traditional licorice
yeah,
flavor.
like it looked, I think it was clean. Like it didn't
was
have
super
dyes
clean.
in it. Like, and so
Yeah.
it was just, anyways. So
yeah. So like that, for example, just for example.
yeah, just for example, like I
that's the
might
kind of thing
eat
you
that.
eat
Yeah,
in the
like
pantry.
I might eat that whole bag in the pantry
Yeah.
by myself.
But I
one
told
piece at
her
a
and I
time.
looked at her and I said, Junie, it's working. Like
Yeah.
you're swimming faster. I said, I think you put goggles on today. Like, and she, we were kind of joking about
Yeah.
it. And I said, or maybe flippers or whatever. And I could just see it registering with her as like, yes, that really is working. And this is happening. And that's really, really fun.
Yeah, I will piggyback off of that sort of like we gave our kids, like you gave June that language, and she kind of we kind of
Yeah.
worked on it together as a family, which is super helpful.
Yeah.
And again, the power of sort of like this conversation and what we talk about, and that like our hope is that you take these things, like we're having a conversation with you.
Yeah.
You're not physically sitting here, but like that's we're thinking about you as we're talking and circling around these
Right.
topics. But we hope that you take them to your spouse and your kids and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And so one that we've talked about with our kids recently a lot about is like the emotional backpack and the rocks that we're carrying. And so, and so June will come up to us real sweet and real serious. And
dead serious.
say, hey, Dad, how's your backpack? And there's always a split second where I'm like, I don't know where my backpack is.
What backpack?
Like I thought,
Yeah.
like I think it has my laptop in it. I'm not sure where I put it because there's always a split second where I think she's literally talking about a physical backpack,
Yeah.
and then I'm like, oh, we're talking about the emotional backpack and the rocks, and I'm like, oh, it's good, and or sometimes I'm like, I don't know, it feels heavy, I'm tired, like whatever, I'm honest. But then the other day she was at school at the co-op, and she had like her study hall time. She wrote in her journal, and it was like,
Well, I told her.
Yeah.
She was feeling something about a certain part of school. And she was like, I wish you were there so I could tell you. And I said, well, I'm not there during the day, but you can write it down and then we can talk about it later.
Yeah.
So she took her notebook ready to go.
yeah.
Keep
Yeah,
it.
and then
So that's why she was.
And I don't know the exact phrasing but I did read it, and we read it. It was like, my backpack is good, or something like that.
I feel happy. Yeah. Again, I'm kind of paraphrasing, but like, I feel happy. My backpack is good. It's not heavy right now.
Yeah,
Or
and I was just
something
like-
like that. I know.
Weeping as she gave this book to me. She's like, "Are you all right?" And I'm like, "My backpack is so full of love."
All the dripping wet.
Yeah.
My tears.
So,
Yeah.
like I wouldn't, obviously, like with children, we don't want to give them so much language all the time
that it's overwhelming.
But I do
Yeah.
think that we can sort of sprinkle some of these things in as we go through life, because again, like that was something that we talked about one night at bedtime. And then we've been able to circle back to it here and there. And I think it's been really super
around a
helpful
lot
for
of
her.
different categories
Yeah.
too. Like it hasn't just been school. It's allowed me to talk about some stuff.
Yeah.
And her have a little bit of more understanding that like she's not responsible for those.
Yeah.
Well, she's not responsible for any of my feelings. But like when she's like, like, can I help? And I just process that
Yeah.
like, unfortunately you can't.
Yeah.
And kind of here's why. But here, all those things.
And so the doggy paddle language came back up again because we finished school this
Yeah.
week. And because I feel like we are kind of coming out of that doggy paddle.
Yes.
Which has been really good.
We're not all diving. And I said to you then that I
Yeah.
said, remember this moment when tomorrow it does not go this well.
Yes. Yeah.
When tomorrow you feel like you're back to, still putting sunscreen on everybody. We're not even in the frickin' pool yet.
Yeah.
Like there will be those days where it's
Yeah.
not all just forward progress and you just feel bananas about it.
But one of the funny things that happened this week, and actually, I think it happened 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
We are, Matt is staying with us, Matt Kark.
Still here.
Still here. He's staying with us for a month, which has been great. And, we have, since he's been here, we have been utilizing a really popular project management system called Asana.
ASANA. Asana.
And we've been figuring it out, tinkering with it, deleting projects, rewriting them, like just trying to figure, again, doggy paddling through
Oh my
this sort of
goodness, yes.
like.
'Cause we've used
how-
this before.
We've used it before. It
Deleted
didn't
it.
stick. And we tried some
Used
other
it again,
things.
deleted
Yeah.
it,
And so like,
and
we
now
started-
we're all in.
yeah. And so at one point, like it was like right around bedtime. are like, no, I think the kids were actually in bed because Bianca was about to come over for you guys to record the podcast.
Yes.
And I said, before Bianca gets here, let's go upstairs and do a sauna.
Yes, because you had worked all day
on marketing
like a
plan.
template layout thingy for this thing, and you wanted to show it to me. And I was like, okay.
And so Matt's sitting on the couch and he's like, what are you guys? And we're like throwing a sauna in it, but we're not being, we must not have been, we were being very specific that it was like a business thing. We're like, well, I put that in a sauna. I'll do that in a sauna.
Yeah.
And he's just like, well, what are you guys talking about? We're like, oh, nothing. We just got to go work on a sauna. So then we came up and then we came down and now Bianca's there.
Yeah.
And
who knows what it is. Yeah.
And they're joking about like, oh, they went upstairs to a sauna.
They got to write some tasks down. Yeah.
So now we can't.
So now I can't stop saying, like, anytime I can fit it in, that like now would be an appropriate time to go do a sauna. I try to say it as much as I can.
It has been so helpful though.
Yes.
And really, really great because again, it's just like having a plan is good. And then, but being able to like kind of see that and build it out and all those things has just been super helpful and life-giving to us.
Yeah. I feel like there's so much less falling through the cracks.
Yeah.
And there's times in life where things fall through the cracks. Like it's just the way it is. It's not like the goal in life is to have nothing ever fall through the cracks. I don't think that's actually true. But I feel like there is less very important things falling through the cracks. And that just feels really good.
Yeah.
Like that's my best. Like it is a feeling, like it is a physical feeling.
Yeah. And
like relief.
And this is the kind of stuff that we talk about in both courses, Rhythm Made Simple, Home Joy is like obviously we're using Asana for business and it's helpful for that and projects and project management and like.
But I use the Notes app for my personal,
and so like,
life, meal planning, recipes, birthday gifts.
It's worth doggy paddling through. And I think that's why it failed the first few times is because I wasn't willing to doggy paddle through it, and it's interesting. Like sometimes I feel like your strengths can sort of be a weakness in terms of like I have a very good memory.
You do.
Like I don't really need a to-do list. I can
blows my mind. Yeah.
Mostly remember all the things I need to do in my head.
And somehow juggling or keeping all those things doesn't also make you exhausted.
No, I can just.
That's the other thing. Like I could, but I'd be exhausted trying not to forget something.
So because of that, I've always kind of shied away from some of these project management systems because like, I'll remember that. I'll remember that.
Yeah.
And I've never been willing to doggy paddle through because I'm like, I'm already swimming well in that area of life.
Yeah.
Thinking that that's the full area of just like remembering my to-do list. And now that we've doggy paddled through the first few weeks, I've seen like, oh, no. This is way better than that.
Yeah.
So it's been cool.
Yeah.
That's it for today. I hope it's like I in my mind I was like, I'm gonna make so much sense about the 200th episode. It's gonna be great. And now that we've talked, I'm like, did I say anything?
Yeah,
and
I think we did.
I feel like at 200 episodes in,
we're still not sure we're saying anything. I like that. I think that's where we're supposed to be. I love that for us. Don't shit all over yourself. We're doing it. Here's hoping we make it to 201
again. It's crazy. We'll say this again in the Facebook group, which you can join in the show notes, where you're giving away a $200 gift card. And I would love so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to post something in the Facebook group for the gift card specifically.
Okay.
And I want you to comment in that, and I'll say it in the post, but I'm going to say it here too, with your Mount Rushmore of episodes.
Ooh, okay.
So we're 200 episodes in. You got plenty to choose from. Which four are you carving into stone?
And what symbol is representing them?
Ooh, I like that.
Bonus points for that.
Bonus points for the symbol.
Or statue or whatever.
Yeah.
When you and I talked about it. Carving real things when we picture our Mount Rushmore.
What is the Mount Rushmore of the Walk and Live podcast for you? And I just won a $200 gift card.
Long pause.
Oh, long pause.
I'm carving long pause, and then I'm carving some nuggets, some ambiguous nuggets that you don't really know which direction of nuggets they're headed.
Rock shapes.
Just like some lumpy rocks. entitled Nuggets. I'm going to stop there because some of the other things I'm thinking about as whispering, I will not be carving.
I'm carving a mini Mount Rushmore.
Ooh, within the Mount Rushmore. I like that.
So head to the Facebook group to enter that. And, again, 200 episodes in, I feel like we're not slowing down, and we're super grateful that you have been here, whether the whole time or part of the time. And thank you for that. Thank you. Let's also do this. I'm going to do one more thing. You use the code 200.
The number or spelled out?
Oh, the number 200.
200.
200. And you buy a shirt this week only. You're going to save probably more than you've ever saved. I'm going to say that.
$200.
No.
I'm just kidding.
We actually send you money. Oh, gosh. I think we're very good at this business thing. Maybe we should put that in Asana. So that's it for this episode, episode 200. Thank you so much. Thank you for making us a part of your week. Thank you for making us part of your life.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, I love you. Bye.